Did you know that Edgar Allan Poe is the basis for two different modern genres, both the detective story and psychological horror? These are the things I'd wish I'd known in high school when I was forced to read Poe and didn't have any context. So first of all, Poe's famous poem, The Raven, that was probably written about Charles Dickens' pet. Yes, Charles Dickens, who we all know because of A Christmas Carol. He was buddies with Poe and had a pet raven. So that creepy poem may have actually been because of a buddy's pet. Second of all, Poe wrote two detective stories. The first one is called The Murders in the Rue Morgue, and the second one is called The Mystery of Marie Roget. These are written about a detective. His name is Dupin. He's French. And the stories are written from the point of view of a narrator who moves in with the detective and writes down the tale. And the detective has all the characteristics of Sherlock Holmes. And that's because about 40 years after Poe's death, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was like, hey, Poe's not going to continue with this dude, so what if I lift him and his sidekick and set them in London and run with it? So that's where we get Sherlock Holmes from. He was actually Edgar Allan Poe's Dupin. Finally, H.P. Lovecraft called Poe the god of fiction, but he was like, I love this horror so much, but what if I set it in space? So he basically came from Poe's inspiration. And finally, for those of you that love Redwall, so therefore you read Brian Jakes' Castaways of the Flying Dutchman, which not a very good book, by the way. This is the first time I had heard about the Flying Dutchman, and it turns out that Poe has a short story, MS Found in a Bottle, which he actually won an award for, and it's about the Flying Dutchman. So chances are that Brian Jakes knew about Poe's story as well. So why did Poe jump genres so much? Well, he was the first American writer to try and make his living solely off his writing, which meant he had to write what would sell. And sensationalism has always sold, and psychological horror is pretty much sensationalism. So there was a method to his madness. So, what do you think? Are you more likely to read Poe now?